The situation with Nico, the Tennessee quarterback, just gets worse and worse by the day. I discover, and it's something that I should have known, but sometimes I'm naive when it comes to that. But players were threatening to hold out of playoff games to get more money in college football. But I also came to the realization that there's a handful of schools you're never going to see that happen because of some certain key factors, unlike a lot of the other schools. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any college football, Formula One, NASCAR, whatever the hell I may be talking about on that particular day. So, Nico. Of course, for those of you who may be sitting under a rock, and stuck in a cave, had to have a week-long family trip that is out of cell phone range. Former Tennessee quarterback Nico has hit the transfer portal after demanding more money, trying to get that $4 million bag, even though he was being paid $2.4 million. Holds out of practice and meetings. Tennessee says, "We're done." And then the next day, news begins to swirl. Oh, North Carolina might be interested. Bill Belichick, he's going to get his guy. Within hours of that, not shocking to me anyway, North Carolina says, "We're not interested. We want the Gio Lopez from South Alabama." And then Tulane comes out, says, "We're not interested. Sorry." And one of the other ones that I've seen is maybe UCLA. But it is now being widely reported that a lot of teams would be interested if he would drop his asking price to $1 million, which is about where I think he is. He's about 3/4 to a full mil, is where I would put him. 3/4 to 125, or I guess 1 1/4. But nonetheless, Nico, I don't think teams are really running off because he held out. It doesn't help matters by any stretch of the imagination. But I think he's still asking for that $4 million deal. No team's going to give him that. And his best option, quite frankly, go back into Tennessee, walk into Josh Hupel's office, apologize profusely, take whatever physical punishment, try to get back on that team. Because that is your best shot at winning a national championship. That is your best shot at winning a Heisman Trophy. That is your best shot of being having any sort of NFL future. That's your best shot. Nobody that Nico is going to go into is going to be able to develop Nico to be a NFL player like Josh Hupel. Hupel has put 2 players now into the draft who, before going into that their respective seasons had no shot at the NFL draft. And you just have, whether it works or not, I don't know, but Nico's best chance, go into Heupel's office, apologize profusely, throw your representation under the bus. They threw you under the bus, Nico, throw them right back under. Because, yes, Nico is an adult. He did make the decision to not show up to practice in the meetings. He made that decision. But when you have somebody in your ear telling you you are worth this much, you should be paying this much, even if it is absolutely an insane number, which $4 million for Nico is absolutely insane, you're going to believe it. And that's going to build resentment. And you get what we are seeing unfold right now. Nico is asking for $4 million. Probably asking now 2.4, 2.6. He's eventually going to have to come down, if he wants to play again, to $1 million for a smaller school with zero chance at a national championship. That is the reality. I could see, as sad as it sounds, I can see Bowling Green. I think they need a quarterback. I think Bazelak's gone. I think Toledo needs one. Iowa needs one. At this point, you got to try to get yourself back onto a Power 4 team, because it has gotten from bad to worse. And I've already seen a couple people out there saying, we've seen players get second chances that have done much, much worse. And that is absolutely correct. However, those players are not asking for almost double what they were making the year before. They are just trying to get back in. And in this particular case, Nico is asking for double what he's worth. Well, for me, 4 times what he's worth. Because, like I said, he's 3/4 to 1 1/4. Somewhere in that ballpark. And nobody's going to pay 4 times more than what something is worth. Nobody's going to do it. No matter whether it's a quarterback, whether it's groceries, you're not going to pay the extra $4 for the great value Oreo cookies. If you're going to pay the extra $4, you're going to get the Oreo cookies. You're going to get the real ones. So, and then now the part that would have really irritated me if I was coaching college football, and I would have been seething, I would have maybe committed some felonies, is when I started hearing that it was not just Nico threatening to hold out, but several players around college football threatening to hold out going in to the college football playoff, trying to make the case that they are being paid for 12 games, which is true. You are getting paid for 12 games. Maybe a 13th for the conference championship. But the reality is, once you get to the college football playoff, the last thing that should be on your mind is money. That's probably why Tennessee got boxed. Probably why Texas got beat. Probably why Oregon got boxed. Probably why Georgia got pummeled. Is because you had key players wanting more money and threatening to hold out. And that is why you saw two teams yes, everybody's getting paid at Ohio State. Everybody's getting paid at Notre Dame. Don't get me wrong there. But they are playing for something more. They are playing with a value system, a moral compass that is only provided by religious values. And I'm not here to say that you should absolutely be Christian, you should absolutely be Jewish. What blah 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 blah. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you're not gonna see these kind of holdouts. You're not gonna see players threatening to hold out going into the playoff because of the value system that is set up as the at Ohio State that Ryan Day has set up, being a devout Christian. You're not going to see that happen at Notre Dame, the Catholic school, very heavy on religion, very heavy on values. And Ryan Day has done a tremendous job recruiting players that have that same value, who just so happen to be unbelievable athletes and have brought people in. That culture that he's created has reinvigorated the Christian values that they may not have had the last decade or so, last half decade. And that is a very powerful culture. And that's why you see lots of turnover in the NFL, but teams are still good. The culture in certain locker rooms are so good that it has a tail that lasts past the head coach, past quarterbacks, past whatever. And they stay good for a very, very long time. Ryan Day has set up that system. Marcus Freeman has set up that system and has the whole college of Notre Dame has Notre Dame instill those within his players because it is a Catholic school. So, and it's going to be the same way for BYU. And then it's the same way for an Army, a Navy, an Air Force, but for completely different reasons. You're not going there just to play football. You're going there for something greater. You are going there to fight and protect this country. So, obviously, you're not going to have that. That and Army and Navy and Air Force don't do NIL because of obvious reasons. So, we are entering an era of college football where not only is NIL a big deal, but the culture is even more important than ever. When you establish a culture like Notre Dame has, like Ryan Day has, you won't have high-profile players like a Nico threatening to hold out in the most important part of the season. It's not going to happen. The values that are instilled by a Notre Dame, by a Ryan Day, is so is such to where you understand time and place. There won't be any holding out at Ohio State. There won't be any holding out at Notre Dame because of the values that are instilled, because of the religious moral compass that is instilled at those programs. And that is why I am putting Ryan Day as the best coach in college football right now. I get Kirby Smart has 2 national championships. He probably has more wins in the last 7 years than what Ryan Day had. Well, maybe not. Trying to think. I don't know. It's gonna be it. It's close. I think Ryan Day might have more, but nonetheless, what Ryan Day has instilled at Ohio State is sustainable. He's not having players during the offseason getting arrested each week of the offseason. At Georgia, it's like clockwork. They have I'm almost positive that Athens PD has a bat phone directly to Ryan Day's, or directly to Kirby Smart's house. The culture at Georgia is not good. That is one of the many reasons why I am just done with Georgia. The culture there is not good. It took an excruciating long. It took, in my opinion, way too long to essentially kick the one wide receiver out. His name completely escapes me right now. And then you have the whole Carson Beck situation. And the SEC is just the SEC as a whole, quite frankly, is just way too much. Way too much. They are the SEC Nation is absolutely brutal, absolutely insane. And in the long run, not good. It's not gonna go good. Especially if we continue to no longer see guardrails up on the NIL, the transfer portal. It is only going to get worse. There isn't any sort of value system in the SEC. It is win. Nothing else matters. That is why you are seeing people who have done far, far worse than Nico getting second chances. A, they're good. B, they're not asking for a big bag. Now, Nico, he is average. He's asking for a big bag. But he committed the ultimate sin. And this actually transcends that, as I said in the previous video. This goes past the SEC. This is college football wide. You screwed over a fellow coach. And the college football head coaching fraternity is tight. And I've said this in the last video. It is very, very tight. You screw over one, you screw over all. Now, Nico was never, ever, ever going to get $4 million. Never. He's not getting $3 million. He's not even going to get what he was going to make this upcoming season. And I don't know who is in Nico's ear. From what I heard, it was his father. If that is incredibly sad. Parents should be looking after their child a lot better. I don't care what age. If that is the case, but the you have to be looking out for your kid a lot better than what we are seeing out of Nico's parents. Like he's like what 22, maybe 20. You make stupid decisions. You do. It is the fact of life. You make stupid decisions, and from all the way up till really your entire life, you're going to make stupid decisions. You're not going to bat 1,000. And some decisions, some stupid decisions, have very severe consequences. And we are seeing those very severe consequences play out right before our very eyes. North Carolina, not interested. Tulane, not interested. Maybe UCLA. I do think Pandora's box will open for them. It's just going to take a lot longer than expected. Maybe I have heard UCLA. Colorado might be a dark horse. Iowa might be a dark horse. Wisconsin. Minnesota. If he brings down that asking price, then he can make his way back in. Go out, all out for a year, and have that senior season to get back into a major championship caliber program. He's going to this is going to be a lost year for Nico. Hopefully, it's in pads because in reality, this shouldn't be a death penalty for him. It very well could be. I hope it's not. But the reality is, this decision has undoubtedly cost him millions. Now, there are a few ways that this can be fixed, and it's shockingly simple. Put up guardrails on the transfer portal. Like I said, have the grad transfer. You can only transfer if you have academically graduated. One transfer per player per career. We cannot be having this three schools in 3 years kind of crap going on. You also have standards set for who can represent players. You cannot have the shady guy from behind the library who knows who is very good at arguing with police be representing college players. Have yourself a real agent, someone who is trained to do this, not just your best friend who knows how to slither out of situations with authority because he's got a sharp tongue. That doesn't always work, and it usually goes very, very south. So set up certain standards for player representation, and this should have been done within months of the NIL becoming a thing. And the NCAA was more concerned about grainy pictures from an iPhone from Connor Stallions and his friends and family than actually going out and protecting these players. I am really interested to see the absolute dirtiest, the darkest sides that NIL has brought. Because what ESPN, what Fox, what On3, 24/7, what they don't tell you is all the shady things that happen behind the scenes about these agents, quote unquote, telling their client, go to the transfer portal. You're worth so much more than what you think. They jump into the transfer portal and they don't make it out of the other side. And their career is effectively over. Some get lucky, catch a D2. But for the most part, that safe haven that was their scholarship and them playing okay, that they're encouraged to drop all of that, jump into the portal, and then they don't make it out the other side. And that is a very that's a very bad thing for college football. It's not good for the players. And I'm not saying that they have to have a guaranteed way to get through the portal or jump out of go back from the portal. Although a lot of schools, they'll if they like a player, they'll find a way to get them back on. But for the most part, you have kids that are entering the portal, not getting what they thought. We've heard the stories of players just getting flat out screwed over by agents, quote unquote. And you got to get some guardrails up to protect players from themselves and from these predatorial opportunists. And we're 3-4 years in at this point, and nothing has been set up. No sort of guardrails to protect players from themselves. This situation with Nico should have never happened. But the NCAA is asleep at the wheel. And we are now in that third generation of college football, of trying things. Because we had the BCS for 20, had the 14 playoff for 10. So we're into that late second, early third generation of administrations to where now they're over their skis. They are not qualified for where they're at. And this is university presidents, administrations, college football, in the upper echelons of college football. They are not where they're at because they climbed the ladder. They slithered up the ladder by hook or by crook. Because the unfortunate reality is politics play a part in every facet, especially in college, especially in the administrations by adults who should know better. These people are not smart. But they should know better. Universities should know better. From the presidents to the regents. And it is their their incompetence that is going to see college football deteriorate. And we're seeing it with ESPN. We've seen the TV numbers for the college football playoffs. They were horrible. All the way through to the national championship. Now, as far as the NIL, I think your best solution is to put a max on them. You can only make X amount of dollars while a year while in college. I'm not sure how you set that up, but my take on the NIL, and it has been the same for over a decade now. They shouldn't be millionaires coming out of college. They shouldn't. But they should be getting paid. They shouldn't have to be deciding between gas or food. That should have never have been a thing. But they should be they shouldn't be coming out of college making millions upon millions of dollars, driving in Porsches, Lamborghinis, and whatnot. Because you end up with this situation that we're in now with a lot of programs that are having to deal with players holding out before the biggest games of their lives. And eventually that bubble is going to burst. We are going to get news. If it continues this way, we are going to get news right before the college football playoff that this player, we'll just go for an example. I don't think he would because he's a homegrown Georgia boy, and he loves Georgia. But for an example, Gunnar Stockton will not be playing in the college football playoff. He is holding out. Something like that is going to happen. You are going to get a star player holding out in the biggest game of their season. And that is when the college that is going to start an absolute proverbial bloodbath in college football. And I am absolutely mortified of the fallout because there is no leadership in the NCAA. There is no leadership. There is no to bad leadership in a lot of these universities. A lot of the coaches, they're competent people. A lot of coaches are very good. But eventually we're going to get to that breaking point. And people are going to be turning on these kids who really aren't smart enough to know better. They're going to be turning on their teams. And we're eventually going to see college football deteriorate. God, I got to learn to speak. Because of the pay to play system. That's what it is. And as much as it would, and the no guardrails, it helps Ohio State. It helps Michigan. It helps Notre Dame. Because there's no limit to what they can spend. And they have several billionaires willing to shell out to make sure that their team gets the best players. The SEC, they have some, but not enough. The Ohio States, the Michigans, the Notre Dames, they can outbid anybody in the SEC and still have enough for a 5-course meal. And that is also scary for college football because the most passionate fan bases are in the South. You have Columbus in the South. They are the passionate. They are the crazy. They are the God, guns, and football. You lose those, though, that the billions and billions of dollars that college football generates disappears very, very quickly. So you have players, and that is how college football is going to end. Is having those players being told their entire life they are the best, they are the greatest. They get to college, they are told they are the best, they are the greatest. And then They want to hold out, and they want a bigger bag. They want more money. And for the first time in their life, they were told no. They're like, okay, I'm holding out. You can't do that. We're coming into the playoffs. I don't care. Pay me. No, we're not going to do that. A, you're not worth that much. And B, we physically cannot afford to do that right now. Well, not my problem. And then they hold out, costing their team a chance at the national championship. That is the reality of what's going to happen. And it's going to have a trickle effect. Now, seeing what the fallout from Nico, that is a warning sign to players. Don't do this. You will get blackballed. And I think that's what's going to end up happening with Nico. As much as it sucks for Nico and for college football, I think in the long run, this sets a really good precedent if it continues on this trend. But one of these times, you're going to get a player that is as talented as a Shedeur Sanders, a Cam Ward, hold out in a key moment in the season. And the team is either going to fold and pay him, or they're going to stand their ground and tell him to kick rocks. And the ripple effect on that is going to be so unbelievably massive that you're not going to be able to. It's going to change college football forever. Hopefully for the better, but who knows? Who knows? I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. I'm Dylan Hildreth. See you in the next one.